All right, coming up on a loaded episode of the Zach Lowe Show, we got a lot to talk about. We got Howard Beck. We're going to draft our most intriguing players for the season, rapid fire, go through the whole league. Who are we intrigued by? We're going to outline the rules. This is a column I used to write every year at ESPN. We're bringing it back in podcast form, at least version 1 right now. We're going to talk about a million teams. We're going to talk about a cryptic LeBron James Instagram post. Everybody loves those, or a LeBron-adjacent Instagram post. Anyway, Billy Donovan. We'll talk about the Bulls for 25 seconds, max, I think. Billy Donovan got a contract extension. Then Tim Cato of DLLS Sports, that's Dallas Sports, basically used to cover the Mavericks for The Athletic. Now he's with them. We're going to talk about the Mavs. A lot of meat on the bone for the Mavs. Yeah, the Luka trade happened. It's not quite water under the bridge. The water is still flowing somewhere. We're going to talk about the remnants of the team. How good can Cooper Flagg be right away? I'm super duper high on Cooper Flagg. How good could the Mavs be this season with Kyrie missing part of it, all of it? We'll see. What about next season and the season after? Those are the ones that really matter for the Mavs championship window. Alleged championship window. Is there a real championship window? We're going to talk all things Dallas Mavericks. We got Howard Beck. We got Tim Cato coming up on the Zach Lowe Show. Hope you all enjoy it. Welcome to the Zach Lowe Show. What up, Beck?
Wow, cut right to it. We are all about business today. What up, Zach? How are you?
I'm good. Going to Europe in 4 days. Knocking out some podcasts before I go. Taking my microphone just in case. Howard Beck, today I said we're going to do our most intriguing players for the season. I picked 6. Why? Because I've always picked 6. This is a column I wrote annually dating back to maybe even Sports Illustrated, but definitely Grantland, definitely ESPN. It was filed in the can, ready to go when ESPN made their decision to part ways with me. It never ran last year. My rules for this column are as follows. You can't pick rookies. You can't pick second-year guys. We're all intrigued by these kinds of players. And you can't pick established stars. Because, I'm intrigued by how Luka looks, in shape Luka looks with the Lakers this year. We're all intrigued by that. You got to find the sweet spot. We're going to do it rapid fire, and we're going to do a draft. And because I'm a benevolent host, I've given you the first pick, Howard Beck's most intriguing player of the season.
Benevolence has always been a trademark of yours, Zach.
That's what people say.
I do have a quick question. Have you revealed who the most intriguing players would have been last fall?
Let me see if I can rattle it off. Shaedon Sharpe, Mark Williams. I'm already stuck. Some other guys. Some other guys. Those were 2 of the 6.
Is the Word document in your possession or your former employer's?
No, I have it. You know what?
You could look it up.
Let me see. Because it's not like I've written a lot.
I'm dying to know if they actually ended up being as intriguing last season as you hoped they'd be. Shaedon Sharpe and Mark Williams both. Mark Williams became intriguing for all the wrong reasons because of a rescinded trade.
Well, I would say the right reasons too.
Well, yes, he was having a pretty good season up until that point.
Jalen Johnson.
Oh, great call. Up until
Trey Murphy III.
Phenomenal call.
Shaedon Sharpe, Mark Williams, Jalen Duren, and Keon Ellis is a nod to role players. And I had great material from Keon Ellis. Just fantastic. Just great. Great interview. Keon Ellis was awesome. Never ran. Too bad. Howard Beck, make your pick. Enough
right.
foreplay.
How about Cam Johnson?
Good. That's a good first pick. Tell me why.
So the outline of him, and certainly what he was in Phoenix while playing for a team that went to the finals as one of the core players on that team, the outline of him, I think, is an improvement over Michael Porter Jr., not just financially, salary cap-wise, but as a player. I think he's a better passer and playmaker than Michael Porter Jr. I think he has been a better defender, certainly in Phoenix, maybe not so much in Brooklyn, but it was Brooklyn. They had nothing to play for. That team was just in a state of constant transition. I don't expect to see him at his best there. I do expect to see him at his best defensively with the Nuggets. He had the highest usage of his career last season, I believe, in Brooklyn. So he got to spread his wings a little more. You have to kind of pull back a little bit then when you go into the Jokic-Murray ecosystem. But he's coming off a career high in scoring. We know he's a great 3-point shooter, 39%, I think, for his career. And you expect that's only going to go up when you're getting wide open shots next to Nikola Jokic. I just think he's a clear upgrade for them. And if the Nuggets have a chance to challenge the Thunder, part of it's going to be his arrival combined with some of the other additions.
The Nuggets do have a chance to challenge the Thunder because they still have the best player in the world who appears to be happier about his horses winning races than he is about anything that happens in the NBA.
Always.
What a heartwarming clip, assuming it was not AI. I assume everything is AI now, including pregnant LeBron James apparently became a thing. I don't know. I don't
suing.
I don't understand. I just don't understand what's happening. I really don't.
There are some things we should not understand and don't need to understand.
But the argument against them having a chance is the Thunder will continue to get better. But I think the Nuggets did a great job in the offseason. I think Cam will be an A-plus fit on offense. I remember citing his drives per 100 possessions were like 12 or 13 compared to Michael Porter Jr., who was like 3 or 4. And I think that kind of symbolizes the difference in the ability to keep the machine moving. He's not as tall. I think defensively, it might be a little better than a wash for the Nuggets. I think he'll probably perk up there too. He's less huntable one-on-one than Michael Porter Jr., although he's not going to stay in front of the quickest guys. I will say Michael Porter Jr. is a better rebounder, and when he was engaged, he could offer a little bit of rim protection, rotating along the back line, that aggressive scheme that the Nuggets like to play behind Jokic. But I think it'll be a good fit. Okay, and salary-wise, it allowed them to do everything else. My number one pick, which I guess means this is my single most intriguing player in my intriguing players, whatever, for the season, is Ausar Thompson from the Detroit Pistons. Missed a lot of last season with, what did he have, a blood clot? I think he had something.
Yeah.
And I thought, I just think in general, the physicality and intensity of that Knicks-Pistons series is going to be so good for all the young players on the Pistons who lived through it. And I think Detroit is going to be as good and probably better than they were last season. I liked their offseason. Bill and I have argued about this. But my number one reason for Detroit optimism is I just think Ausar Thompson has a chance to be really, really good and really good sooner than people think. Offensively, he's obviously very raw, although he's flashed some ball skills and the ability to bully smaller guys. But number one, the Jalen Duren, Ausar Thompson interior passing, cutting connection was like a real thing in the playoffs. You send two at Cade. Cade dumps it to Duren. Duren's a good passer. Ausar is a great cutter along the baseline. And Detroit sort of sets up the floor so he's on the same side with their best shooter, and that shooter is lifting up toward the top, and the whole side is clear for Ausar Thompson. And by the way, cutters, really good athletic cutters, have gravity in a similar way have shooters. If you go back and watch that Knicks series, you will catch Knicks assistant coaches pointing to where Ausar Thompson is on the baseline, being like, you are too far away from him. You got to help, because if he catches his ball, he's going up and he's going to finish in traffic. And that opens up stuff for the shooters behind him. He's an insane offensive rebounder. He got 9.5 free throws per 36 minutes in the playoffs. 9.5. He's just an absolute force of nature attacking the rim. And I think there's a lot of levers the Pistons can pull with him if they trust him to do it. Like, if he's going to be guarded by smaller guys, put him in ball screens with Cade, get switches. Same if he's going to be guarded by bigger guys. If his defender's going to ignore him, use him here and there like the Warriors would use Draymond Green. Have him set a handoff for a guy, for Duncan Robinson coming off a screen, for a shooter, for Cade, for whoever. I just think he's an incredibly exciting player. The defense, he's just going to be a monster on defense across every position. We'll see how much on-ball or pseudo-on-ball stuff he can add, but I'm just really intrigued by him, and I think with a season under his belt, a playoffs under his belt, I'm not saying like all-star or anything. That's a long way away, considering he's mostly sort of a garbage man on offense, but he's going to be really, really good really, really soon.
How about all defensive team good, along with his brother? In April, when I was doing my usual make the rounds, talk to scouts and executives and others to try to like just get some perspective on all the balloting, especially with the defensive awards, which I think are always the hardest. One made the point to me, or the assertion to me, I should say, that and Ausar Thompson was not eligible based on the games played rule. Ausar is going to be better than Amen defensively. Not offensively. Amen is obviously miles ahead of him, but that Ausar will be the better defender. And it was kind of a wait and see what you see when we get a full season, when we see a full season out of him. Who am I to disagree? That was an assertion made that kind of stuck in my head, and he was on my theoretical list of guys that I almost brought up for this exercise. But also, by the way, it's because of Ausar and the upside there, and not only him, but many others there, that I thought you and Pina maybe had the Pistons a little low. You and Bill might have too. Also, it seems like everybody's a little hesitant to like call them a top 4 team in the East. I think you had them in the next tier down.
I had them 5th in the East.
Okay, just slightly.
Kind of in Sharpie.
Yeah.
It's like they're not going to be 6th or worse if they're healthy.
Yeah.
Top 4, absolutely in play. Someone takes an injury. The Hawks, who I'm going to get to later, perform below expectations, which is generally what the Hawks do. Absolutely home court advantage. Orlando sputters on offense. Paolo misses 20 games. Top 4 is absolutely in play for the Pistons. I just one area where Ausar is not far behind Amen, and I don't like comparing the brothers, but whatever. On offense is passing. He's a really good passer for his role. And if he can get slips to the basket, he's a good interior passer. He knows where his shooters are. He's unselfish. Love Ausar Thompson. Okay, make your second pick.
I'm just going to stay on theme or on point here. Jaden Ivey. So everything, and again, you guys touched on this, I think, a little bit. You and Bill touched on this because he's down in their off season. He's down on Karis LeVert, and you were making the case for this actually being a good off season, if for no other reason than they did pick up LeVert and Duncan Robinson, but they get Jaden Ivey back. Jaden Ivey averaging 17, 4, and 4 last season through 30 games before he broke his leg. He was on pace for career highs in points, field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, rebounds. So there's a lot to like about the outline of Jaden Ivey, and has been since the moment they drafted him. But the reason I bring him up as a player of intrigue is because I think there are still some doubts across the league about his fit next to Cade, his fit in general, his kind of mindset when he's got the ball in his hands, and how much is he going to need the ball, and how much is he willing to play off the ball. And so, they lose Dennis Schroeder, who I think was an important presence, not just as a 3-point shooting, but his just kind of harassing, annoying, pestering defense. And somebody kind of needs to bring that in Schroeder's absence now. I don't know that's Jaden Ivey's reputation, but he certainly has the athleticism and the ability to do that. Can he be a reliable enough 3-point shooter to be playing off the ball as much as he probably should be, needs to be shot? He was shooting 40% when he went down last year, but
45% on catch and shoot threes last year. That's not sustainable, but the trend line's pointing the way you want it to point if you're the Pistons.
It is, but it's also a tiny sample size, and I will always keep in mind what the analytics guys always tell us, which is that if you have a guy who's a bad 3-point shooter and he has even a single full season of suddenly making a big leap, even that season is not enough to stabilize statistically. So you just never know if that spike is something sustainable or for real. But everything breaks right, and he does all these things, fits well next to Cade, everything else. And he's coming back to, it's an interesting thing that happens with young players sometimes, especially young players that have a very high expectation of what their role will be. When they're out and their team succeeds without them, and you observe all that time, sometimes you come back a little bit wiser about the way to deploy your skills, and you see where you fit in, or where you can make yourself fit in, as opposed to trying to do too much, right? So hopefully the time he's spent out has, given him a sense too of like what his best role is next to Cade and in that lineup. And if everything breaks right, this is a really good team.
It's funny that he didn't make my list because like 3 episodes ago, I called him the single most intriguing player in the Eastern Conference. Because I do think big picture, whether he's the off guard of the future for the Pistons is maybe the most important thing they have to figure out about their team. And although he showed signs of being that kind of player next to Cade, their numbers together were not good, have not been good, were not good last year. I think I'm kind of throwing those out, given that it was very limited sample last year, and before that they were just a bad team. He showed a willingness to get off the ball. Like I remember looking at the stats a couple weeks ago. He averaged, I'm just ballparking it, he averaged like 45 pick and rolls per 100 possessions when Cade was off the floor and the offense gets to belong to him. Yeah. And like 12 or something when Cade was on the floor. That's as big of a difference as you'll see in any player anywhere in the league. And he showed a willingness to be like, yeah, I'll be the second side guy. Cade, you run a pick and roll with Duren. and I'll come off the pin down, hit me on the left side. I'll attack with my strong hand and get to the rim and do something. And it's just, to me, the question is more about who guards who on defense. And I do think that Ivy has the ability to be a good defender. And does he have enough feel to make those plays in traffic as the second side ball handler? But I think it's interesting. He's also extension eligible. Okay, my second pick in the most intriguing draft. Onyeka Okongwu. Yeah, Onyeka Okongwu. Deep cut for the second
That's
pick.
Deep cut.
But if you are a fan of the Atlanta Hawks offseason, if you had the Atlanta Hawks in a tier that I called, could plausibly make the finals out of the East, you have to get a very strong Onyeka Okongwu season on both ends of the floor. I have him penciled in as the Hawks starting center. He kind of blew up in the last couple of months of last year, scoring up, rim running up, passing up, shot some threes, 35% on corner threes, baby steps. Defensively, just okay. And he's undersized. He's not a force at the rim that anybody is really scared of, but he's fast. He's switchy. And the Hawks have fast, switchy, long defenders all around Trae Young. And if Onyeka Okongwu can dial in, he made steps as a defensive rebounder last year and an offensive rebounder. To me, there's a level of seriousness you need as a defense to compete in the playoffs. Jalen Johnson has it. Dyson Daniels has it. I think Risa Shea will get there with his profile. Trey's always going to have to be a guy who people cover for, but there's a level of seriousness he can get to, and sometimes did last year, of just like, I'm at least trying to stay in the scheme. Okongwu is the keystone that's going to have to make a lot of it work, and he's fast. He's just not a huge rim deterrent, but there's something there, and offensively, they let him spread his wings a little bit last year. He's a good passer in 4-on-3 situations. Like, you double Trae, he knows where guys are. He's going to have to learn to play around like a Trae Jalen Johnson pick and roll, where Jalen Johnson gets the middle of the floor. He's got to do more than just stand in the corners. Nobody's going to guard him there. Can he cut? Can he come in for offensive rebounds? And a lot of that comes down to, I watched a lot of film on Okongwu, and the Hawks really have just like, he's a pretty good ball mover. Daniels is a really good ball mover. Jalen Johnson is an elite ball mover for a power forward. Risa Shea has really good instincts as a cutter and maybe a secondary, third-level passer. Like, they have the potential for kind of a more dynamic, unpredictable offense than people give them credit for. And it's just going to be about Trae kind of buying into that kind of vision, trusting that, yeah, when I give it up, I'll get it back a lot. This will be better for the team, because there's a lot of interesting ingredients here. I think it's just a lot of stuff, a lot of ifs have to go right. A lot of stuff has to click into place for them to really hit the kind of ceiling that I think they could have. The more ifs you pile up, the lower the odds, or the worse the odds of all of them clicking right. So I think this probably is a team, like, I don't think they're going to make the finals. I don't think they're even going to make the conference finals, but you never know. They could definitely make the conference finals. But a lot of it to me centers on Okongwu. And is he going to get super serious as a backline defender, as someone who just buys all the way in? Where are my arms? Are my arms in passing lanes, or are they down by my side? Because he's got good balance, good speed. They'll play him with Porzingis quite a bit, I think, at the 4. We'll see how that works. But does he have another level in him than even he showed last year is a massive question to me.
I'm wondering. I didn't see that one coming. I'm wondering too, just in the event that we get a, I don't know, reasonably healthy season from Porzingis, and I certainly hope he's over whatever that illness was that just completely sapped him. He looked so sad. Were you there at the end of that series at the Garden?
I don't think so. No.
So I poked into the locker room that night, and Porzingis was holding court. It was, I think, the night must have been the night they got eliminated, and he just seemed so disconsolat's too strong a word, but he just was bewildered. Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happened to my body. And from everything I've heard, he's fine now. Bumped into somebody at Summer League, and from what I'm gathering, he's fine. He's good. But he's also had trouble keeping staying healthy, period. In the event that he has a reasonably healthy season by Kristaps Porzingis standards, what is the balance there? Because he has all the rim protection that Okongwu does not.
He
and
can
he
start.
Spreads the floor.
That's the balance.
Yes.
He could usurp the starting spot.
Yes.
And this pick could end up being a stupid pick by me, or because it's Kristaps Porzingis and you don't want to overplay him, even if he does usurp the starting spot. And by the way, I can't wait to see how all those dynamic screeners, cutters, ball movers who are shaky shooters look with a shooting 5 rounding out the lineup in Porzingis. If that does happen, Okongwu is still going to play 25 minutes a game. He's going to share the floor with Porzingis a little while. He's still going to be very important. I just think he's kind of... I think his rise in the last 2 months of last season went under the radar. His whole career, other than when he he's guarded Giannis as well as everybody in the league. I guess that's probably the thing he's most known for. I think he's a pretty good player that has to be better than pretty good for the Hawks to go where they want to go.
Sure. Yeah.
Make a pick. Third pick. This is your third pick?
This is my third pick. Have we gone west yet?
I don't know.
I've lost track.
You like. You're a free man.
I'm going to go to the Bay Area because I love the Bay Area. I'm from the Bay Area. It's a wonderful place. Brandon Pajemski.
Did not even make my long list.
Not even the long list. Here's the thing. As I was doing this exercise that you threw at me over the weekend, and as I eliminated all the players that are ineligible for your list, I'm trying to get players who are like intriguing and where like their development or their ability to pop or their ability to fit or whatever like is going to have obviously consequences, right? And hopefully consequences at the highest level. I don't know that the Warriors are going to be a contender again during the Steph Curry era. I think a lot of us hope they will just because it's fun to watch Steph Curry deep in the playoffs, and it's fun to think of the idea of Steph and Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green somehow making one more run. But that's not happening if the young guys don't do something. Kuminga is still, as we sit here at 12:56 Eastern Daylight Time, on July 28th. Jonathan Kuminga is still unsigned, and we don't know if he's coming back or if he's going to be in a sign-and trade. He's probably coming back, but who knows? Whatever. If they were able to sign and trade him, what's coming back for him? Is there a move to make during the season? In the meantime, what can they get from Moses Moody? What can they get from Brandon Pajemski? What can they get from, various assorted young pieces? Because this can't just be the Steph and Jimmy show for 82 games. Jimmy never plays a full season. Brandon Pajemski was good enough to kind of nudge Klay Thompson out of the lineup a couple seasons ago. And then good enough that they were comfortable in sign and trading Klay and saying goodbye to that era. He's a very good three-point shooter. He's a decent playmaker. He's a willing passer. The coaches love him for his high basketball IQ, his feel for the game. Somebody else needs to do some stuff with the ball in their hands. And there's kind of a dearth of that in this rotation. And if it's not him, I don't know who it is. A full season of Jimmy there eases some of the burden on Steph. But I also imagine they're already going to try to stagger those guys a little bit. So they've always got an all-star caliber playmaker type out there. Somebody else needs to be really good with the ball in their hands and then be able to knock down shots and maybe defend a little bit. And I think if you're looking at it through the Warriors lens, that they're hoping that they get the Pajemski they saw flashes of 2 seasons ago and at times last season, even some moments in the playoffs, as opposed to the Pajemski who just kind of trudged his way through the first part of last season.
I think it's a good pick. I didn't even consider him because I just don't see a universe where the Warriors are like legit inner circle contenders, maybe for the rest of the Steph era.
Top 4? Do they have a shot at top 4 this season?
I mean, some things would have to go wrong in some places. Those three top teams. I mean, Minnesota. You know what? You have to put Minnesota in that group too, with Denver, Houston, and Oklahoma City. I mean, those are really, really good teams. I know the Warriors' record was extraordinary with Butler and Curry. They're just getting older. Every day they're getting older. They will add some players. I still think Horford is probably going there. D'Anthony Melton hasn't signed anywhere yet. I think we can, there's some tea leaves to be read there.
Everybody in the Bay Area is penciling those guys in is pretty much automatic, it seems like.
And so they'll be solid. They'll be good. And Pods is a good pick because how much more does he have in him as the two timelines thing falls away into a complete fallacy that never really happened, depending on what Kuminga brings back or what he brings them. If he takes the qualifying offer or goes back under some kind of deal that's palatable to him, who knows? Pods last year deserves a lot of credit. He finished at 37% from three and took 5 a game, basically, which is more than he took as a rookie. And with the exception of about a week when he looked kind of afraid to shoot or unwilling to shoot, he shot and played his way through a really horrible slump where he had to answer a lot of questions about stuff that his team's owner said about him being an all-star that he didn't say, he probably didn't want said, and just got said and put this sort of halo of pressure over him. Pods is a really good basketball player. He does a lot of things really, really well. He averaged 12 points a game last year and 27 minutes a game. Can he get to like 17 or 18 at some point when Steph and Jimmy are still in the tail end of being really good productive players? Maybe. I don't see Pods popping into like a 24 point a game, 21 point a game score, but can he get to 17, 18, take a little bit more of a load? I think it's a good pick, but he's a really good player. Yep. All right, my turn. I know you picked Scoot Henderson, so I'm not going to steal Scoot from you. You can take Scoot whenever you want. I'm going to go to a pick. This is the first ever player to make this column or exercise twice in his career. He made it, I think, 3 seasons ago as a member of the New York Knicks and is making it again as a member of the Toronto Raptors. Emmanuel Quickley, welcome back to the Most Intriguing Players analysis. You should have graduated from this by now. However, you have played in the last 2 seasons 38 and 33 total games. 68 and 33 total games. 71 games total for the Raptors over the last 2 seasons. And for all the attention on Brandon Ingram and his extension, 2 years, 40, 41. And Scotty Barnes, and oh my God, they maxed out Scotty Barnes. He's the guy. Did they make him the guy too fast? In doing so, did they alienate a couple of their veterans? Is he really that good? Blah, blah, blah. All legitimate, concerns. Colin Murray-Boyle's very exciting. Jakob Poeltl, just they can't quit Jakob Poeltl. They'll just keep paying Jakob Poeltl more and more money for as long as he wants to be in Toronto. He's pretty good. RJ Barrett, does he have any trade value? Was he a throw-in? I still think Emmanuel Quickley is the linchpin in any of this working out for the Raptors in the next 2 or 3 years. I can see the vision. I can see why they targeted him when they traded OG Anunoby. He is a good shooting point guard who can play off the ball and on the ball, but you don't want him to play on the ball all the time because he's not a good enough passer and he's not big enough. But he, as a partner to Scotty Barnes, he's got the right mix of skills. He's at 40% on catch and shoot threes for about the last 3 seasons combined. That's a very good number. 38% on pull-up threes in the last 2 seasons. That's a very good number. The dude can shoot. He can screen for Scotty Barnes. Their 2-man game both ways should be a powerful weapon despite the complete lack of spacing around it, which is a problem. Defensively, he's got to dial all the way in, but he's got the tools to be pretty good. I voted him as 6th man of the year Brogdon won it when he was with the Knicks. We just haven't seen, he just hasn't played enough in Toronto. He hasn't played enough with Toronto's core guys to quell my curiosity. I am still curious about how this fits. I see what they were going for. However, he makes $32.5 million in each of the next 4 seasons. It's got to work to make that contract palatable to the rest of the league if they ever want to pivot. And I just think if this is going to amount to anything, I think Emmanuel Quickley is the swing piece and the most important piece in all of it sort of clicking into place. So Emmanuel Quickley, you are back in the column. Please stay healthy. Please find the right balance in your game because I think it's in there, and I think at least that piece of it could work. If they haven't surrounded it with enough shooting, then maybe it's dead on arrival anyway, and this is just going to be a mediocre team. Not a bad team, just a mediocre team. But I want to see it. I still want to see it, so I'm intrigued.
I think it's okay for a guy to be a 2-time intriguing player list guy. Like, you could be intriguing at various stages of your career. It's not like you've been demoted. This is not like being held back in high school and you got to repeat your sophomore year or something. Like, You could be good and intriguing, bad and intriguing, struggling and intriguing. You're just intriguing. That's a compliment.
And again, like I've said this before about the Raptors, their bench, first of all, their starting five is a lot of high wattage names. Does it work as a unit? We're going to see. Their bench is a lot of question marks, low wattage names, inexperienced players like Grady Dick a lot. Murray Boyles is going to get chances. They're going to have they should at least have such an extreme staggering with two of those four ball handling starters playing together with the bench. Quickly, Barrett, Ingram, Barnes. And I just Quickly's got to be a huge factor in that, obviously. I don't even know who best pairs with whom. Do you tether Quickly and Barnes together? Do you I don't know what the right sort of calculus is, but he's a very interesting player that has kind of been a little forgotten.
Yeah, I liked him a lot with the Knicks. I liked him as a centerpiece. I mean, there was even some argument at the time about which of the Knicks pieces that they got was the more heartbreaking one for Knicks fans, because RJ Barrett seemed to have kind of leveled off, and IQ was incredibly popular here. So I love his upside. I think I might have had him a hair behind Brogdon on that ballot. I can't remember for sure. But he was phenomenal. And yes, he's got the defensive chops and I think the defensive desire to make him a really good point of attack defender. And I don't know what the Toronto Raptors are doing with that starting lineup at all. But, it seems to me like this has been kind of like the Raptors just kind of, let's just collect whatever we can collect for the next few years and see how it pans out. And then that's the Brandon Ingram thing, right? It's just he's available. We don't know where we're going. Let's just grab talented players and see how it all pans out. But yeah, I don't really like the fit of that whole lineup together. And you mentioned staggering. I almost feel like that, this is gonna be one of those teams where your best bet is 5 minutes in, you should already be switching up.
By the way, that's fine.
Yeah.
A lot of teams are built that way. I think the fit is blurry, but talent can overcome fit. There's a lot of talent. I think that 5-man combo, I bet it works a little bit better than expected. I bet I'll just pin a number on it right now. I'll bet that 5-man lineup is plus 2.8 per 100 possessions for the season. I'm going to put it at plus 2.8, which doesn't sound great, but it was minus in over the 4-man group of it without Ingram, obviously, was minus. So maybe plus 3.2. I'll go plus 3.2.
Optimistic.
This episode is brought to you by HubSpot. In the playoffs, extra possessions are everything. Same goes for growing a business, and HubSpot's customer platform gives you more chances to win. Breeze, their built-in AI, automatically takes care of marketing, sales, and service tasks so you can game plan for growth. It's easy, efficient, and most importantly, it's effective. Customers are cutting sales cycles in half and getting hours back each week. That's like turning those contested jumpers into clean looks at the rim. Visit HubSpot.com/AI to learn more.
Who do you want to pick now?
Well, I mean, you
I spoiled Scoot, huh?
You spoiled Scoot. Might as well go Scoot, right?
It's a must pick. If there's a player that has to be in this exercise, it's Scoot Henderson. So you can explain.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna do this on through a slightly personal-ish lens. As you know, I've been actually teaching a class for the last week or so, and one of the things I just talked about with the students today was, the dispassionate approach we have to take as journalists. I have no emotional investment in the outcome of games or in anybody's careers. But that said, we do get to know people, right? And there are people that you like. And I got to do one of the first real in-depth profiles of Scoot when I was at Sports Illustrated a few years ago. And I went down and I visited him and his family in suburban Atlanta and suburban Marietta. And it was wonderful family. And Scoot, at that time, he's just come off of his junior year of high school, right? He's skipping his senior year to go straight to the G League Ignite, hashtag RIP G League Ignite. And this is one of those cases where I got to write a report on somebody, a top prospect at an early stage, and I just like him. I like Scoot Henderson as a person. And I also saw, I was in the gym for a couple of days there. I spent a lot of time around him and the family, and you could see the outline of it. He had an NBA player's body as a 16, 17-year-old in high school. He just looked like he was made for the NBA at that moment. And the three-point shot in the gym looked phenomenal. as you and I both know, you can see guys shooting with no defenders, and this is why workouts are sometimes throw teams for a loop, because a guy shooting in an empty gym, everybody hits all their threes. He looked great. He was making deep threes even. It's been bumpy in Portland. It's been really bumpy, but the whole franchise has been bumpy. And now Dame is back. And it was like, is he Dame's understudy? Well, now Dame's gone. Does he have the reins? Well, are they building around him? Are they building around Shaedon Sharpe? Were they building around Anthony Simons? Like there hasn't been a clear direction there. Now Drew is there, Holiday. Dame is back, but injured. If nothing else, for the next couple of years, Scoot is going to have and assuming nothing changes, the greatest mentorship in the world. Like Chauncey Billups, Hall of Fame point guard. Dame Lillard, Hall of Fame point guard. Drew Holiday, I don't know how to judge whether he'll ever be in the Hall of Fame, but championship, just great guard. Smart, thoughtful people who really understand the game and his position at the most granular level. He could not possibly have a better NBA education at this stage. So without getting into the nitty-gritty details, which I'm sure you will in a second anyway, because you have them on your list too, I think the outline of a really good player or great player is there. And I was never willing to give up on him, in part because, sometimes when you report and write on a guy, you start to feel like, all right, I have this weird sort of investment where I want to see him succeed. And I'm very curious to see how this goes.
Look, we all know that it's about the shooting, right? That there's only so far you can get as a lead ball handler if players are going to play 10 feet off you and duck under every screen and wall off the paint and not have to rotate from anywhere, any of the shooters on the floor. The shooting trended in the right direction across the board last year. It's not just the threes going up to 35%. It's going from 46% at the rim, which is ghastly, to 56% at the rim. Mid-range jumpers up, about the same. But like the shooting trended the right way. It's not good enough. It's not nearly good enough yet. Now, there are some times where he's so physical and so fast that it doesn't matter. You can go under a screen for him, and he's going to beat you to the other side of it and attack the basket. There are some times where the Blazers know that teams are going to go under screens for him, and so they kind of trick the defense into not being able to do that. They run a decoy action and then get it to Scoot. They set the screen 2, 3, 4 times until you're stuck. And all of a sudden, he's in an advantageous position. He has... The shooting is good. If it doesn't get to a point where teams have to at least think about going over screens, his ceiling is going to be artificially capped at a decent level still, because he's got a physicality. He's got like a staccato rhythm to his game that I really like, changing the pace of his dribble, that confuses defenses sometimes. You'll see him kind of put guys in jail like Chris Paul, get a guy on his hip and freeze the defense and throw these lob passes and these kick out passes. Like, he's got the vision, he's got the physicality. And to me, there's been kind of a lot of debate about, are they going to start him next year? Because they have Drew Holiday now, and they have, to me, the locked-in starters are Avdia, Kamara, and Klingon. And that leaves 2 spots for Drew Holiday, Shaedon Sharpe, Scoot Henderson, and Jeremy Grant. Just do the math, 4 for 2. Honestly, man, I know Portland's got some ambitions of hanging in the play-in race and getting in the play-in race next year. I think you got to hand the keys to Scoot. I just think with Dame coming next year, Simon's gone. Sharpe is obviously more of an off-ball player. So is Drew. So is Grant. Grant is a little bit of a hybrid, likes the ball, maybe more than he should. I just want to hand the keys to Scoot and see what it is, because there's something here, and I got to see what it is if I'm the Blazers. That's all.
You can't pick a direction as a franchise until you know that you have a North Star to build around. And he needs to be it. And if he's not, you need to know that. So yes, I think this is the time.
And it doesn't mean that I'm going to hand him the keys you're now going to run 70 pick and rolls a game. I would start him, throw him in the deep end. He played well with the Blazers starters last year. The numbers were generally good when he was on the floor with their best players. I'm interested. I want to see it. Okay, my next pick. We're getting deep now. So I like to do deep cuts on these. I don't want the obvious ones. Anyone can make the obvious ones. Anthony Black with the Orlando Magic.
That is deep.
Hey, look, man. Lottery pick. Stud athlete. Absolute A+ athlete with size at guard. elite defensive player already and can make plays on defense. He can block shots. He gets steals. He's super athletic. On offense, he has a level of explosion that I almost sometimes watch him and I'm like, is he sort of discovering in the moment, like, oh my God, I can do this? Because it's the same question with Scoot, the shooting. People are going to go under screens when he doesn't have the ball, which he doesn't have the ball that much because Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner are on his team. He's just, no one is guarding him. And he had some misses from three in the playoffs last year that were like, oh my God, that missed by 10 feet. Like, the shooting just isn't good enough. But you go under a pick against him and he gets ahead of steam, he'll jump and you'll meet him at the summit and you'll start falling down and he'll still be going up and he'll lay the ball and you're like, whoa, that really popped. Like that was unfair. And I just think, look, he's not going to start. Is he going to close? Who's he going to close over? I don't know. Like that would require maybe moving Paolo to the 5, which is an interesting look. I'd like to see the Magic maybe dabble in. But it's more that the Magic's bench, I love Tyus Jones, and their backup centers, Batadze and Mo Wagner, when he gets healthy and ready, are good players. Isaac is just like, what, I can pencil him in for 15 minutes max a game. And then it's like a kind of a bunch of unproven guys. I think for this team to really threaten to make the finals, which is what they want to do, and I think what they can do in the East, the state of the East, given what it is, he's got to become a true sixth guy, like a true sixth starter almost. And part of that is the shots just got to be better. And part of that is, can he find more ways to involve himself on offenses? Like, you're going to hide a little guy on him. I'm going to screen for Paolo. I'm going to screen for Franz. We're going to have a more dynamic ecosystem, not something where he's just standing around in the corner because he's not very useful there other than as a cutter and an offensive rebounder. There's something here, and I think for the Magic to hit, he's got to hit, and he's got to hit now. It's time.
Great case, definitely intriguing. But you, can I go on a slight tangent here?
Of course.
Tyus Jones off the bench. Should Tyus Jones be starting?
No, absolutely. No. Zero case to start him.
Okay.
Desmond Bane. Who are you starting over? Suggs?
That would be the only choice, really. I'm not saying he should.
No, I'm already firing you as the Magic's coach. You're fired.
All right. Well, I've been fired from bigger things. Actually, I've never been fired. The lack of elite playmaking on this team has bothered me, and I think it shows up in their surprisingly low offensive efficiency for the last couple of years. And yes, some of that is injury related too. I get it. I've just wondered if what they've really needed is the rug that pulls it all together. And I don't know if Tyus Jones is that, because I thought he was going to be the rug that pulled it all together in Phoenix, and that didn't really work. But that's probably not his fault. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, Zach.
He's like a jute outdoor rug. Like, you don't mind if it gets rained on. No. He can help off the bench. They need an organizer badly, and I like that signing for them off the bench. Look, I think you're just betting on Suggs has to stay healthy, which is always an if, and he can be a secondary playmaker. Franz and Paolo continue to get better and better as passers. And Bane is just, you add a moving shooter like that, and it just makes everything easier. It makes all the reads easier. Spaces open up, and they stay open longer, and they stay open wider. I just think you're betting on all of that. I just think they need Anthony Black. That's all. Okay, make one of your what do you got? 1 pick left? 2 picks?
2. We can lop off the last one if we don't get to it, because I was hesitant to throw him in here in the first place.
No, now you have to say it if you were hesitant.
The one I wasn't hesitant about, even though he's going to fall into your category that you've already kind of derided as obvious, probably. Jalen Green.
You're hitting me right in the gut with that one.
On which level am I hitting you in the gut? Which part of it is most painful?
It might go down if Jalen Green doesn't pop a little bit in Phoenix. My excitement for him now, look, it was always like, it could be a swing and a miss, and it could be a spectacular swing and a miss. But I just kept saying, like, you don't find athletes like this. This is a 1 in 100 athlete.
Yeah.
The passing just has completely stagnated. Defense, I thought he came along a little under Ime. It's just the shot selection and the passing is completely stagnated. And if he doesn't improve that kind of stuff, my excitement for him is gonna be one of my all-time worst takes. So I'm now upset. Thank you.
My bad. I just think that to the extent that the Suns will be interesting at all, and I don't think that they're very interesting, and I don't think they're going to be very good, hot take. Look, they had to trade Kevin Durant for pennies on the dollar. They had to trade him for a lot less than what they obviously got him for, and that was always going to be the case. But there's still an upside of Jalen Green. He's still young enough to be, to evolve into a better version of himself. But there's different kinds of stakes, right? Like the stakes got too high in Houston for him. So high that Ime Udoka had him benched in fourth quarters of playoff games. He's not going to be, he doesn't need to carry a franchise in Phoenix. He doesn't need to be part of a team that's even expected to do anything of note this coming season, except maybe by them. But he does need to fit with Devin Booker, or he does need to at least evolve to the point where he is a guy that you either is a core piece or a guy that you can retrade to try to keep rebuilding around Devin Booker, because one day the day might actually come that Devin Booker, despite all of his loyalty to Phoenix, might actually say, as Damian Lillard eventually did, ain't really working out here. Maybe it's time to go. And I don't know.
Will he come back in 2 years after it not working out in the new place?
Not after a hamstring, God forbid. There needs to be some upside here. I don't know where the upside of the Phoenix Suns is. And
Malawatch?
Maybe. So Jalen Green, can he defend at a higher level? Can he be a more efficient scorer? Can he be a better playmaker? Can he find a way to fit with Devin Booker, who is a obviously infinitely more established and better offensive player next to him? Can he be entrusted to close games? I mean, it might not matter because, again, their games may not be of consequence. But can he make the Kevin Durant trade look at least a little bit better? And, I don't think there's a ton of writing on him succeeding there, but it's not insignificant.
My thing with Jalen Green, and I was an optimist to a fault. I would just start almost at the very bottom, the very base level, and I would just want him to make the simple play all the time. Like when you turn the corner, if there's a shooter that's open over here, just hit the shooter and trust that the offense will run itself. The playmaking just hasn't come. The drives to the rim are just wild. I mean, wild and out of control. And he has the athleticism to finish some of them, but not as many as you would think. And I just slow down. Like when he would just pick and roll with Şengün, I'm just going to throw the pocket pass, or we're going to play the DHO game. Those are the moments where I was like, okay, that's like, you have a good passing center. Play off of him. Trust him to make the next play. It doesn't have to be a home run every single time. You don't have to take 8 off the dribble threes a game when the 7 of them are contested. Simple play, back to basics, no stakes. I like the pick. I'm just emotionally scarred.
My bad.
My last pick is Brandon Miller, who only played 27 games last year. Hard to draw much from it, considering that a lot of those games came without LaMelo Ball. It's just a constant who's in, who's out, who's available, who's not available. Shot more threes, probably good if it comes at the expense of long twos, which it did. I loved him as a rookie. I thought he had future All-Star written all over him. And he's only on and two-way All-Star too. They gave him tough defensive assignments right off the bat as a rookie because of his length and versatility, and he kind of went for it. He's like, I can do this. Like, give me a shot at it. The Hornets are it's just a mystery box. How does it all work with all these young guys and LaMelo and Brandon Miller and Knipple, and they've got a million guys. McNeely they just drafted. They have no centers of consequence. Apologies to Moussa Diabate, a nice bench player like him. We'll see what this Kalkbrenner kid can give them. They actually like him, a second-round pick. Let's just be simple about it. This is going nowhere. I'm talking nowhere for the next 5 years. Nowhere interesting, nowhere close to interesting. Interesting, you can't even see with a telescope. This is going nowhere if Brandon Miller isn't an all-star. Nowhere. And so after a lost season last year, I'm excited to see this kid come in for year 3. Off-season, get healthy, work on your game. Maybe LaMelo's healthy for most of the season. I'm excited to see what he is because I was super excited about him as a rookie, and this is a whole wad of nothing if he doesn't hit, and I think he can hit.
Do you get the sense that there's an overall plan in Charlotte? Like,
Yeah.
the fit between, just as these pieces fall into place, lottery pick after lottery pick, do you can you see a clear vision there? And I mean,
the vision has been we're tanking aggressively for like high draft picks. We're going to offload veterans. I mean, the Mark Williams one was the tell. It was just like, we don't want to pay this guy. We cannot wait to get rid of him. We'll have a trade that's rescinded, and we'll continue to try to trade him, even though the whole league knows the trade was just rescinded. The lens is long. That's smart. The LaMelo, I have always been higher on LaMelo than consensus. I still think there's a fulcrum. Like they've won when he's been on the floor. I think they've won more games than people give them credit for. Like, they were a play-in team, which I realize is like, wow, golf clap, Eastern Conference play-in. You get to go behind the velvet rope with the Hawks and the Heat and the Bulls every year. But given the talent around him, that's not nothing. But to me, the do-it-all wing, Paul George 2.0, whatever you want to call Brandon Miller, that's the thing that ties it together, whatever vision they have there, other than we're just going to continue to have the longest lens in the room. It all comes back to him really hitting, and so he's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. Before we move on, are we getting to the other news items we were going to?
I can do it myself. You can go leave and teach your class.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Just double checking. I have nothing else on your Charlotte Hornets or your Brandon Miller. Should we get to my last pick?
You have one pick left.
I do.
Now I'm curious to hear it.
Oh, so I hesitated, and it's going to be obvious why I hesitated, because the second you hear the name. Kevin Porter Jr.
Yeah.
Kevin Porter Jr. There's some very ugly things in Kevin Porter Jr.'s past. I'm just going to stipulate that right off the bat. But his talent has kept him in the league this long, and with teams constantly trying to roll the dice and hoping for something better on the court, to say nothing of the off-the-court stuff that happened a couple of years back. The reason I bring him up is because I thought the Bucks were going to have a very aggressive kind of off-season. In
one way they did.
In one way they did. But I thought there'd be more, Zach. I really thought, because we went from whatever it was, February, March, April, is this the summer that Giannis finally, is it? We went from that to silence, no trade request, no trade demand, no hint of a trade demand, no rumblings, no rumors, no anything, no smoke. Okay, he's staying. He's staying for now. Maybe he's staying, period. And maybe he should, but there's an implied vote of confidence or leap of faith in the front office, and the result of that so far has been waving and stretching Damian Lillard and signing Miles Turner to a pretty hefty contract and nothing else. And so then you're sitting there. A couple of weeks ago, we're in Vegas, and I'm attending the Miles Turner press conference, and John Horst is sitting up there, and I asked something to the effect of, like, what else you got? What is there more coming? Because we're like, whatever, 8, 9, 10 days into free agency at that point, but things had already kind of quieted down across the league. And he was kind of, no, we're good. And then I'm looking at the depth chart, and I'm seeing, depending on what where you're referencing, maybe, and I think this is before the Cole Anthony signing, but like Kevin Porter Jr. is kind of penciled in at point guard. And now there's a version of this where, like, the point guard is really Giannis, right? Back to the Jason Kidd version of the Bucks with Giannis. He's just point everything. He's point Giannis. That's fine. I buy that. But if that's the case, and if Kevin Porter Jr. is a serious part of this starting lineup, as it appears he may well be, now he's got to be a decent shooter, and he's got to make more smart plays with the ball in his hands when he does have it. I don't know that everything is rising and falling with him. I just know that the Bucks have a lot at stake right now, because this is a matter of keeping faith with Giannis, and every decision you make, every player you put next to him, from Miles Turner to Cole Anthony to Kevin Porter Jr., there's a lot more riding on it than just, hey, we're taking a flyer on this guy who's had a bumpy ride in the NBA. I mean, Kevin Porter Jr. has been on, 4 teams already, I think? 4 teams in 6 years, but he's still just 25. There's clearly a lot of talent there, a lot of natural ability. I don't know. Can he shoot well enough from 3? Can he make enough? He had a couple of nice moments against Indiana in that first round series. Maybe there's something there, but I'm at least curious.
One of the reasons he had a nice series against Indiana, a couple nice moments, is because the Bucks discovered pretty early in that series our starters around Giannis are basically unplayable. Here comes the bench. And by the end of the series, Kevin Porter Jr. was starting. He's been good for them. Ryan Hollins has been good for them. Jericho Sims has been good for them. They've made something of these sort of minimum level and a slightly above in the case of Trent and Porter and Rollins rather. Ryan Hollins, Houston Rockets broadcaster, NBA big man. Sorry about that, big fella.
Easy mistake to make.
It's just, look, I think the Bucks are going to be like I had them. I think they're going to be a solid team. Maybe pencil them in at like 6th right now, 7th, 5th, somewhere in there. I had them in the next tier below Detroit and Atlanta. Certainly those teams are catchable for any team with Giannis on it if he plays 70, 75 games. Don't think they have enough juice around him at guard still, despite the Cole Anthony signing and all of that. But it's a pick that's focused on the right place and the right part of the Bucks roster. That perimeter rotation around the Portis, Kuzma, Giannis, Turner, Sims. They have a lot of playable 4s and 5s. They're going to need some 1s, 2s, and 3s. Howard Beck, you got to go educate young minds.
Trying.
You have any? Is this like are you going to stand on a desk? Or are you gonna Dead Poet Society? Like, what do we got?
I will say.
What's your style? Do you do what is it? Do you do the Socratic method? Or are you just calling on people like a law school class?
I'm trying as much as possible, partially just to make sure they're staying awake. These are high school students. The air conditioning.
Are they young punks?
They are not. I have not had a spit wad shot at me yet. Nobody has.
Have any of them used AI on a writing assignment and gotten caught?
No. Thankfully, that has not happened. Fingers crossed that does not happen. They're going to do podcasts later this week. I'm going to have them all do. I should bring you in as like podcasting coach. We're going to have them each do like a 7 to 10 minute podcast where 2 or 3 of them like take on an issue that they choose and we'll debate each other. So that'll be fun.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah, no, actually, it's been a blast. I have not shown.
So we need more podcasters.
I have not shown them Dead Poet Society, although that is one of my all-time favorite movies. And if I have an opportunity to stand on a desk, I will. It has not happened yet. I have, however, shown them clips from, as recently as today, I showed them Almost Famous. I needed to show them Lester Bangs speaking to young William Miller about do not become friends with the rock stars, because we in this business need to be dispassionate observers. We cannot be friends with the people we cover. We can be friendly with the people we cover. We cannot be friends. We cannot have an investment in them. I can be happy to see Scoot Henderson succeed with the Trailblazers, as I very much hope he will. But I'm not. It doesn't affect me emotionally if anybody succeeds or fails. And that's the thing I was trying to get. The thing I was trying to get across. So I did show them some Lester Bangs this morning, although I was disconcerted. I will just say disconcerted that when I asked, as I put up the clip, how many of you have seen Almost Famous, and only like 2 hands out of 20 went up. That just it hurt me. It hurt me deeply. It hurt me as deeply as me bringing up Jalen Green to you earlier in this show.
Almost Famous came out in 2000, according to my quick Google search here.
Yeah,
these people were not born.
They were not. But it's a great movie. You and I have seen movies that came out before we were born, haven't we?
Yeah.
Actually, movies, I mean, yeah, right? Like, we've seen, like, Casablanca and stuff, and...
Yeah, we weren't sitting on our stupid phones on Instagram and various YouTube shorts and stuff like these people are.
I told them there are a lot of great journalism movies. The Paper, of course, All the President's Men, Spotlight, but I said Almost Famous. This is... Almost Famous, it is a rock and roll movie, but it is also a journalism movie, and they need to see it. Everybody needs to see it. Young people, if you've not seen it yet, you are hurting me to my core. Please go watch Almost Famous.
Wow, that was quite a plea. All right, Howard Beck, thank you for joining us. Go transfer some of that enthusiasm to the next generation of podcasters who are going to populate this really unpopulated space on the audio landscape. Thank you, Mr. Beck. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Zach. Take care, man.
All right, a couple of news items to get to as Howard logs off here. Want to talk about Billy Donovan was extended as the Chicago Bulls head coach. A lot of angst from Bulls fans, like, why are we extending anybody from this run of extended mediocrity? I get that. To me, Billy Donovan's not the problem. I think Billy Donovan is a pretty solid to very good NBA coach. I just would like to see him for once get a team with one sustained sort of playing philosophy and group of players. It's not his fault. He walks into the Thunder. He gets the last year of the Kevin Durant team that, loses to the Warriors barely in 2016, and then he leaves. And then they have to completely reset the team around Russ. He's got the Russ team, the triple-double team. Then Russ goes and he concocts this 3-guard lineup with Shea and Schroeder and Chris Paul. They make the playoffs, almost win a playoff series. And then he gets to the Bulls. He's got the Lonzo team. Now Lonzo's gone. He's got the DeMar team. Now DeMar's gone. He got the Levine team. Now Levine's gone. It's just a revolving door where I still don't know what Billy Donovan actually kind of stands for as a coach, other than a couple of things. Number one, toughness. Non-negotiable for him. He's tough on players. He was tough on Buzelis last year. You can see clips of Buzelis missing a box out, getting yanked out of a game, but he does it in a way that I think has earned him a lot of respect from players, agents, other coaches in terms of the culture that he sets, and adaptability. As I mentioned, the guy figures out how to work with what he has. If we got to play 3 guards, play 3 guards. If we got to do this, do this. So I think Billy Donovan's a good coach. He is not the problem in Chicago, as far as I know, unless he's in these personnel meetings making some of these decisions. Good job, Billy Donovan. He deserves an extension. There are worse things you can do, even if it annoys your fan base, by continuing to have the same people over and over again and this feeling of staleness that overcomes the fan base if the team isn't good. There are a lot worse things you can do than keeping a coach is good, because as soon as you fire a coach is good, and I've said this many times before, often about the Sacramento Kings, you can blink your eye and you're 9 coaches in 8 years trying to find another coach who you think is good or fits with your team. Last piece of news, super agent Mishko Raznatovic, who is super famous in NBA circles, cryptic LeBron social media post of the year, of the summer at least. He posts a photo of LeBron himself and Maverick Carter, whose presence I think is important in the photo, in Saint-Tropez, France. And the caption, which raised a lot of eyebrows, because Mishko represents, among others, Nikola Jokic and tons of other players. He does not represent LeBron. The caption is, "The summer of 2025 is the perfect time to make big plans for the fall of 2026. Well, that certainly got the NBA world spinning. Fall of 2026. I mean, LeBron's going to be a free agent as of now anyway, after the summer, in the summer of 2026. What are they planning? What is this super agent planning on a yacht, a super yacht, actually? It looks like a really nice yacht. I'd like to be invited on some of these yachts, with LeBron and with Maverick Carter. And it set NBA Twitter apparently a stir. Where is he going? Is he going to team up with Jokic in Denver? And I don't know. I would say, in the order of operations of what this post is about or how we should take it, I would say most likely, number one, just a fun post. They like being shit disturbers. They know this is going to disturb the shit of NBA Twitter and cause a stir. It's fun. We're on vacation. Let's look at our yacht. We look at the cushions. The cushions look very plush. Let's take a photo and see what happens. Thing number two, I would just say, I don't think if there's any plan that's actually being planned or talked about with whatever date you want to put on it, big plans for the fall of 2026 is what it said, 2020, whatever. I would say I don't think I would look toward the NBA as what that plan might be about. And that's all I'll say about that. And then I think the third most likely thing is it's kind of about the NBA, but I would not read into any of this. I would not read anything into this Instagram post, but I certainly would not read that LeBron is anything into LeBron's future with the Lakers or another team in the NBA as he enters his whatever 23rd season, whatever crazy number it is. Okay, and with that, we're going to bring on Tim Cato to talk about the Dallas Mavericks. Speaking of the Lakers, the Dallas Mavericks. A lot of meat to talk about with Tim. He's coming on now. All right, it's time to talk about a team that I haven't talked about directly too much because all the discussion has been about a trade that happened 6 months ago, and it's time to actually focus on, okay, what is in the remnants of that trade? What is this team going to be this year with Cooper Flagg? Oh my God, the lottery. I haven't recovered from the lottery yet. What is it going to be when Kyrie Irving returns, whenever that is? Is Cooper Flagg going to be ready in time for Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis? Oh my God, the Mavericks. Tim Cato from DLLS Sports. How are you, sir?
I'm doing lovely. I'm delighted to be here. So we're talking Mavericks, not the Mavericks rim microphone specifically. Just clarifying.
We're not doing those. They're very loud. They don't have anyone who groans anymore like Zaza Pachulia back in the day, which was almost unnerving to me, frankly. Tim Cato used to cover the Mavericks for The Athletic. You did a great job there. You broke a lot of important stories. We have to start in true Mavericks fashion with a men's health article. That's a first for the Zach Lowe Show or the Lowe Post, either one. Luka, oh my God. Luka looks in shape. Of 3 different stories in men's health about his off-court regimen this summer. And it reminded me of, it's so dramatic. And people need to go look at the photos. It reminded me of when Kyle Lowry got in shape, he was already in shape, but lost a lot of weight. And JJ Redick tweeted something, that player JJ Redick tweeted something like, is that fucking Kyle Lowry, bro? That's what I thought about Luka Doncic. He's in shape. Now, Tim, a couple ways that you could look at this as an employee of the Mavericks, as a fan of the Mavericks, as someone who writes about the Mavericks. First of all, very predictable post-trade plot twist. Oh, now he's got a fire lit under his ass. You doubt me because of my conditioning, my injury, that submarine part of our season this year? I will show you, and I'll get in the best shape of my life. I've seen LeBron do it. I've seen his workout regimen up close. And this was sort of like a very predictable, I'm not going to say nightmare scenario for Mavs fans, but like you kind of could see this coming of like, if he ever gets into shape, now it's going to do it. You could be critical of Luka and say, dude, why did it take you getting traded and getting injured to get yourself in shape like this? You could be critical of the Mavericks for like, how were you not able after all the years together, despite the success, despite the fact that Luka could look at you in the mirror and say, look at you in the face and say, hey, look, I may not be in the best shape. We just made the finals, man. How about that? How could you not coax him in this direction? Or you could sort of split the difference between all those and say, maybe it's the injury, the first like major longish term injury of his career, and not the trade that would have gotten him in this direction, whether he was in Los Angeles or Dallas. And how does that make you feel about the trade? I don't know how to emotionally react to this, Tim Cato. How do you emotionally react to it?
Yeah, I'll start by saying that Luka getting in shape has never been that big of a deal to him. Him starting a season in shape is something that he has consistently done more seasons than not. He showed up in good shape to start training camp last year and then just got hurt the day before training camp started. And that was when a lot of the good diet and workout and just all of the physical stuff that is so important to him, like it's so important to how he plays on the court. That's when that stuff started unraveling. So I'll start by saying, him being in shape right now, and yes, the photos look good. He looks svelte. He looks slim.
His face looks different. He looks like a different person almost.
100%. So of course it stands out to me. And of course it is kind of predictable that he needed, I agree with you, the injury, the recurring, leg stuff that he has dealt with. That is absolutely I think most players, once they get 6-7 years into the league and they hit their first major injury, this is often a wake-up call for a mid-20-year-old player. But what I will say for Luka is the question is not how good of shape he is in right now. It's February, where he's been playing 40 minutes a night, and players around him are banged up. He's banged up. He's got to sit for a week, just some nagging injuries. How does he react to that? That has always been the Luka question. That has always been what has derailed him, throughout his career. It's not been starting seasons, it's been finishing seasons. And, both of the deeper playoff runs that Dallas made to the conference finals and finals, by the end of it, he was definitely dragging. So, if this is an overarching, permanent change for him, I absolutely will look at the trade and look at the ammo and the motivation that was given to him, that, something so unprecedented happened that you came out of podcast retirement to just film a video on Twitter. That's how shocking it was. This doesn't happen.
Let's not talk about that.
They don't happen. So if that's where he gets the motivation from, if this is what changes his career, it makes total sense to me. But I, as somebody who has chronicled a lot of Luka for a long time, the questions for me come mid-season and beyond.
Maybe they should have fake traded him. Maybe they should have actually gone to him like they were afraid to do, because it would have blown up the trade, and said, hey, man, look, we can't trust your conditioning. injuries, your leg injuries. Like we're thinking about moving you to the Lakers, and then it blows up. But 4D chess, Nico Harrison is like, now you're going to be motivated for us. Maybe that's what they should have done. To your point, like you talk to people who have been around the Mavs and around Luka. It's the period like this summer. It's the period between Eurobasket and the start of the season that concerned them. Is like he's going to be in really great shape. What does he do after that to maintain it before the start of the season? But look, the trade is done. It happened. And we don't need to relitigate the trade. I think if there's one thing about this trade that is maybe under discussed, right? We've discussed that they didn't shop him. We discussed that there could be an actual justification for getting ahead of a Luka trade if you shop him. We discussed all that, the return and Anthony Davis and Austin Reeves and all the picks they didn't get and blah, blah, blah. I think if there's one thing that's been under discussed, it's not even that they made the finals the year before with this player that you don't want anymore. It's that when they were whole in last season, the first 2 months of last season, they looked like a contender again, like that they had carried over exactly what had led them to the finals. And if they had been healthy with the depth that they had built up and all of that, could have replicated that run or at least pushed Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City not going anywhere. I mean, the Oklahoma City San Antonio Storm from the Midwest is relevant to every Western Conference team with the medium-term window. By the Mavericks' own public admissions, they have now a short to medium-term window that they've gone semi all in on. So yeah, I don't know. I just feel like that, like the first 30 games of the Mavs season last year doesn't get talked about a lot.
Yeah, when Luka got hurt on Christmas, at the time, like their 5-man lineup, their starters with Lively, PJ, Clay, Kyrie, and Luka, they hadn't played together a lot at that point. It was the best net rating in the NBA at the point of his injury. Qualified for some minute total that I forget, probably like 100. They were a good team. They were very good. There was definitely aspirations that they were going to get right back to being one of the favorites, like top 4, top 5 type candidate. They had made good moves over the summer. So that's all absolutely true. And I guess the other question about, just the reaction to the Luka stuff is what do Mavs fans think? And, I can't speak for every Mavericks fandom, and certainly my Mavericks fandom, which once did exist, is long dormant, long behind me. But, and I know every fan has their own relationship to the team, but I think most Mavs fans want to cheer for this team. They want to be happy. They want to enjoy watching Dallas Mavericks basketball. And right now, because of Cooper, there is excitement. There's reason to focus on something that isn't the Luka trade. And everything has kind of quieted down in that sense. There's certainly still pockets of the fan base who, call for Nico Harrison to be fired and, express their discontent. But what I really wonder is that, that right now does not define the whole base. What I wonder is if Luka, comes into season looking like that, is averaging, 39-9, 34-9 yet again. And Dallas, who is missing Kyrie Irving for at least half the year, probably is going to miss AD at some point. Right now we don't even have a lot of info on, the fact that he hurt his eye, had surgery. That's not a good thing. That's that's not good news to drop in the summer. Dallas may start slow, and Luka may start hot. And I think there is still some dormant, lingering anger and frustration and within this Mavericks fan base that, if that scenario plays out again to begin this year, we're gonna see it. I do not think it's all dead. I think it still exists out there.
This team is the 2025-6 team is already something of a placeholder until Kyrie Irving returns. I don't know if it's going to be this season. I don't know if it's going to be next season. I don't know if it's going to be, if it's this season, how good does he look? He's kind of tried to slow play expectations a little bit, which I think is smart. He tore his ACL. It's a major injury toward the, mid to back half of his career.
And it's a knee that he's had surgery on twice before, and then the last surgery was surgery to remove screws that got infected. This is all to his left knee. So yeah, absolutely. He has the right to take as long as he needs.
And, in the meantime, Cooper Flagg is going to get to handle the ball a lot more than he will, I think, when Kyrie is back, because the other options are like D'Angelo Russell, and we'll see who kind of gets backup guard wing ball handling minutes. There's a bunch of candidates that inspire various levels of confidence. And I think that's going to be good for Cooper Flagg. I loved how he looked in Summer League. We can talk about what kind of player you envision him as, what kind of player the Mavericks envision him as. But I just, without Kyrie, the team is just not complete. It's not going to be a serious threat to do anything in the Western Conference. He really kind of ties every disparate part of the team together. Not only is he hurt, you mentioned Anthony Davis. Derek Lively had surgery. They expect him to be healthy for training camp. He's a critical part of their team and part of their vision with Anthony Davis playing some, if not most of his minutes at the 4. Let's just start with Cooper Flagg. Like, I still can't believe they won the lottery. I still can't believe that Nico Harrison then just said stuff about how the vision was coming together as if the vision involved a 1.8% lightning strike from the basketball gods. Totally
Fortune favors the bold.
Yeah, I guess it does. But I plotted out their starting 5 like this. You may disagree on the 5th spot. You tell me. You know the team better than I do. D'Lo, just classic revolving door journeyman. Hold it down for a year and then bye-bye. Maybe he has a player option. We'll see. D'Lo, I still put Clay in at the 2. I just feel like he's the smoothest fit for his shooting. Cooper Flagg is a supersized 3. Anthony Davis, and let's just say Lively, gets healthy in time. Is that your starting 5 on paper? Do you think there's any flux there?
I think it's the one that makes the most sense to me. They have certainly flirted with the idea that PJ Washington and Cooper Flagg would both start, that Clay would come off the bench. That's something Jason Kidd even kind of hinted at.
The mega lineup.
Yeah.
Like Cooper's a 2, I guess, in that lineup.
Yeah, which is just like that. That would be there would be nothing like that in the NBA if that's. Well, we'll
see. I mean, we're going to see it. We're for sure going to see it, whether it starts or not.
For sure. So I think that's the only real question is, PJ Washington going into a contract year has not come to terms with an extension on him. The Mavericks have not. Is that somebody?
I think he's not eligible until late August for an extension. I would bet they get something done. I think the most it can start at is about $20 million a year. I'm going to say on July 28th, I would bet on PJ Washington getting an extension done when he can.
I think that's fair. But yeah, that's the real switch up or the real what the starting lineup hinges on is, which one of these veterans who obviously have reason to expect that they should be starters are you going to talk into coming off the bench? It's not going to be Cooper. AD is going to play the 4. The one thing that you can say is that AD and Lively are going to miss games. Even if they're both healthy to start the regular season, I think that their careers have given us the reasonable expectation that these are guys who are not going to be healthy. If you get 60 games out of them, you're pretty happy. And so that is something that kind of clears up some of the front court logjam that certainly they're working on. I went into the summer expecting they were going to make a consolidation trade just because they got a lot of bodies and, it's never bad to have depth, but a lot of the depth right now is a bit redundant. It is very stacked more towards the front court than the back court. You kind of look at who's going to guard point of attack, who is actually breaking down, creating shots, getting, beating his man and getting into the lane. I think they're going to ask Cooper to do a lot of that. Like you said, I think this is going to be,
who else is it going to be? I mean, it's not really D'Lo's game is not a north-south.
He's not a driver anymore
kind of game.
Yeah. I think he averaged like five a game, something like that. He's a shooter now at this point. He's not a driver. Brandon Williams, I think, is actually going to be real important off the bench, backup point guard. He showed some flashes down the stretch of just being kind of one of those, jitterbug, just get into the lane quick as hell. I think that's somebody who's going to pop. But I think a lot of it is going to fall on Cooper Flagg. I think that, we just saw him in Summer League. He played, just 2 games as every major prospect tends to do. And he took 21 shots in both games. How many times did he take?
To his credit, he played a ton of minutes in both games.
Yeah. Would you like to guess how many times he took more than 21 shots at Duke?
I'll go 0.
He did 1 time. Now, played 38 minutes and he took 22 shots. So this would have been his second and third most attempts, out of his entire freshman season. This is what they asked him to do. They wanted to make him uncomfortable. And, it was one thing to put the ball in his hands and have him bring it up the court. But I think even more than that, what they were really asking of him was go shoot the ball, be aggressive. Like, you are the star of this team. You're going to be a star. You're going to fill a star type role to start next season. And, we didn't see, the best. Like Cooper Flag was great at Summer League. Some of his best stuff is his off-ball offense. There wasn't a lot of time and space to do that. He's still awesome at that. But overall, like Dallas is raving about his Summer League. His first game, he shot poorly. And, that's probably where we saw the limitations of, just the fact that he's not an offensive creator. He's not all the time and get to a shot that isn't, a 18-foot pull-up. Sometimes that is going to be the best option, the only thing that he can get against an engaged, like size matchup defender. But overall, I thought it was a standout Summer League. I thought,
have the Mavs had any star players who are really good on mid-range shots, like in the paint with a pivot game and a pump fake game and a floater game and a fadeaway game? Have they had that kind of guy at the fulcrum of a great Mavericks team? I'm not sure. I'm going to come back to Cooper right in a second, just to round out the team. The bench, I mean, this is a team that's got a lot of guys, right? Like, they have so many guys, they're going to have to cut people or put Ryan Nembhard on a two-way just to get to 15 guys if Brandon Williams makes the roster, which I think he should because they need his skill set. You mentioned point of attack defense. The dream scenario to me for this team, and I don't think he's ready for it, is if Max Christie earned that fifth starting spot for exactly that reason. He gives you the best shot at a point of attack defender, but as of now, I have him penciled in off the bench. PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford. I think what Najee Marshall did in the last 2-3 months of the season when he just went bananas because someone had to score, I think he won't ever get to do that again, but he's just a rock solid player. And then we haven't even got to Caleb Martin. What a disaster that contract and that trade look like right now. Jaden Hardy's still kicking around. Omax there's a lot of guys. And my big picture take, my 30,000 foot take is even projecting forward to Kyrie coming back at full Kyrie-ness, whether it's this season or next season. It's a good team. It's a little bit of a strange team, and I just still think it's too expensive and out too many draft picks for what it's going to be in the Western Conference, unless everything hits faster than people expect. They're right at the second apron right now. They're projected to be right at the second apron next season. They're out. They don't control any of their picks until 2031. They're going to make a salary dump trade sometime, if not two of them, sometime in the next 2 years. We don't need to go through the candidates for that. They're good. I just don't think they're good enough to justify forget the trade, the investments that they've made in the near-term future. Unless Cooper Flag becomes a star really, really fast. And I love Cooper Flag. The first best thing I can say about him is that he just looks like a guy who knows how to play basketball from every position and every spot on the floor on both ends of the floor, offense and defense. He knows how to move. He knows how to create space. He knows how to crash the boards. He knows how to cut. He knows how to screen. He knows how to handle. He knows how to chase guys over pin downs on defense. He knows how to guard pick and roll ball handlers and navigate screens on the ball. He knows he's already a very intuitive off-ball defender. He does not overhelp. He doesn't underhelp. He sees his man in the ball at all times. He does not make mistakes. He's just an A-plus basketball player guy. Now, you mentioned the 18-foot pull-up and the growing pains are going to come creating his own shot. And you saw some of that in Summer League. You saw him try to back down Bronny James, and he couldn't really move him that much in one-on-one. Guys are going to go under screens on him and dare him to shoot jump shots. That's just going to be a fact of his life. And the spacing on a team that has Flag, Davis, and a traditional center is going to be a little bit clunky. Okay, fine. A lot of teams have clunky spacing. You find ways around it. And you've heard people not already, but kind of say is he going to be more of an A-plus connector kind of player than a A-plus star kind of player? And for me, right now, that's way premature. I think this guy has a chance to be an on-ball superstar in the vein of some of your classic on-ball superstars. I don't want to throw names out because I don't think it's fair to throw the big names out. But you look at his size. His passing vision is elite for his age. He's an early passer. He's an anticipatory passer. He throws the pass ahead of the rotating defense or the one they don't expect. He's what, 6'8", 6'9", something like that. He's huge. He has a mean streak and a bully ball game where he's going to be able to either as screener or ball handler run inverted pick and rolls, hunt small guys, and eventually overpower them and back him down. He already facing up will hit you with a shoulder, move you back, throw a jump hook over you. I'm not putting ceilings on him as like, oh, he's going to be a A-plus connector or whatever. I think he's got a chance to be an absolute on-ball superstar. The question is, like, can it happen in time for this iteration of the team to pay off in the way it absolutely has to pay off for Nico Harrison? What do you think of that question?
That's why if you look at next season as a gap year, all of a sudden, like, it all makes sense. Like, everything starts to click into place.
Division clicks in?
So if Cooper is going to start as like this guy getting shots, like, okay, we're going to throw you in. We're going to give you a chance to be that star. You're going to get reps right away. Kyrie, there's no rush to get back. In fact, if you don't come back next season, it's not a big deal. There are not stakes on next season.
They control their pick next season, to be clear.
If the front court is too loaded, well, just keep everybody, figure out, take a look, okay, PJ does or doesn't make sense. Like when we play PJ and Cooper together, are they too similar? Are they too redundant? Is this somebody we want to move on from once, we sign him to extension and, secure some value and then they go shop him around? Or is it a situation where, okay, actually Daniel Gafford is the obvious guy, or maybe even AD, maybe even you get to the question of would we shop AD? And I don't think this front office under Nico Harrison would do that. But if you look at next season as a gap year, the clunky roster aside, the fact that Cooper is going to have some growing pains, if that's what you challenge him to do right away, it's like you're basically the number one option or the second option.
Someone has to do it. Someone has to dribble and run pick and rolls and like bend the defense. And it's only going to be D'Lo here and there. But yeah, throw Brandon Williams if Ryan Nembhard ever gets minutes as a two-way. By the way, I loved him in Summer League. It's not really AD's thing anymore. You can post AD up. You can give him the ball at the elbow and let him do some stuff. Like, he's good at that, but that's not going to be your number one option on a real functional elite NBA offense. Certainly not as a ball handler, even though he can do that a little bit too.
Yeah, if there's one question I have about the Mavs next season is, does Nico Harrison believe that it's a gap year? Or that a gap year at least is okay? If Kyrie does not come back as soon. And then subsequently, does Patrick Dumont believe that next year is a gap year? Or once again, that the idea of a gap year is okay if Kyrie just takes time getting back? Because of course, publicly, the messaging, what they're saying is that they want to go win titles. I mean, Nico Harrison made that very clear. Nico Harrison, by making the Luka trade, added a lot of pressure onto this franchise's next couple of years. And Cooper eases that. But if the expectation of the franchise of ownership, which is still trying to figure this whole thing out, clearly they were not whatsoever ready or fully understanding of what they had purchased when they bought the Mavericks. And now that they're catching up, they're still listening. They're still buying into this idea that they have a window that's open right now. Are they okay if that window is like next season is more about building to the next year? Because that's the year with a fully healthy Kyrie Irving, with Cooper Flagg getting all of these on-ball reps, just being a second-year player. I think that is something. Like, he has always grown. He has always ascended. He has always been someone challenged himself to do more and more, and he has got better all along the way. So I do think second-year Cooper Flagg, as you've said, he could be the type of star that makes this whole roster finally healthy, come together, click together, make sense. You can make whatever consolidation trades at that point that you need to. You can shed salary. You can figure out which of these, 12 rotation quality players, or at least that's the Mavericks' hope. You can figure out, like, okay, which 9 of them are we keeping around this core that is Cooper and probably AD and almost certainly Kyrie Irving. How are you, what is the way to build that into an actual contender a year from now? I just don't know if the Mavericks internally and specifically the ownership feels that way. And if they don't, and if this does go poorly, if this is sluggish, if there's just no 3-point shooting, Dallas was dead last after Kyrie got hurt in the league by a long shot, very low on percentage. If this double big lineup, yes, everybody's doing double bigs. Nobody's doing double bigs like the Mavericks, where the centers can't shoot and they can't drive. Yes, AD is a focal point, but he's more of a, elbow extended high post type guy. Like it is a very unique experiment, and it is a chance for Cooper to accelerate and be in a perfect position to both win now or have winning now expectations, but also have that chance to be a star like right away from the jump. The question is just like, what does the team itself think of it? And if it does go poorly, I think there's definitely a chance it goes poorly. What's the reaction?
Now, I mean, really, over the next 36 months, by the way, AD is up for an extension next summer. That's going to be wildly interesting to see how those talks go. But 24, 36 months, it's really just about Kyrie, AD, and Flag. Everything around that is going to have to be fungible, including how you handle the center position. Quick detour. Consolidation trades and free agency signings bring up a certain person in Los Angeles. I haven't heard anything. I still haven't heard anything that the Mavericks would trade 5 guys for LeBron James. If he got bought out, I think they'd probably be at the front of the line to sign him for the minimum. I have not heard a peep about the Lakers buying him out. So until and unless any of that changes, I'm expecting the status quo. However, if LeBron decides to continue to play basketball after next season, he will be a free agent again. Just feel like an obligatory LeBron mention had to be dropped in. Anything you want to add to the obligatory LeBron mention?
I agree. The Mavericks insist that they would not trade, 4 players for 1 or 4 players for 2. Although Bronny, great in Vegas. Maybe he's a rotation player. Maybe it's 4 for 2. Maybe you're bringing 2 guys back. But I would agree that I really only see LeBron as a buyout option for Dallas, in the sense that I just don't. There's not really a trade that makes a lot of sense. You're gutting way too much depth to do that, and you're gutting depth that has value, that you're trading for a guy who's got less than 150 games left in him in his career. And that's just not good for the Cooper future either. Even if you decide, okay, this window doesn't work, it's time to fully start the Cooper Flag era. Everything is dictated around him. AD and Kyrie Irving, player options at the end, but their contracts run until the last year of Cooper Flag's rookie deal. You've got a reset you can make and fully base the future around Cooper if you want, even while you kind of run this experiment out. But if you trade away PJ Washington, Klay Thompson, PJ and Gafford specifically, guys who have value, guys you could kind of reset and rebuild with, even in a couple of years from now. I just don't think that's best for the Cooper future that is coming.
Not to mention the struggles aggregating, staying under the second apron, taking it a $50+ million salary, all of that.
Yes.
Look, anything's possible if everyone wants it to be possible, but we'll see. We do need to go back to the point you just made about the double big lineup. Because it can work. It's one of the biggest structural questions about the team. What I like about it is obviously size on defense, rim protection, shot blocking. You could bludgeon the offensive glass. What I don't like about it is not necessarily like the simplistic take on they just don't have enough shooting, which they don't. What I haven't liked about it, and what I've consistently not loved about AD as a 4, despite everyone knowing that he should play the 5, is a lot of the double big lineups that work, where both the guys are really center, interior kind of players, they work. And even you could translate that down to, a guy I just talked about with Howard, like a Jalen Duren, Asar Thompson combination, which I think can work in the long term. It's because there's a level of speed and cutting and intuitive quick twitch passing and movement that both of them share. And AD just doesn't play that way enough in this scenario. He tends to just kind of float around 19 feet away from the basket as a pick and pop big, as a release valve, or as like a triple threat ISO guy. And I just don't think that's going to work well enough offensively if that's what he's going to default to. If you can introduce a little bit more of that, and certainly like Lively in particular is a quick twitch mover, quick twitch passer. They've had great interior passing sequences between them in their time shared on the floor, brief as it was. If they can introduce a little bit more of that, and if Kyrie and Cooper, because of their ball handling and the amount of tension they can draw away from the basket, can unlock a little bit of that, I do see a world in which they strike the right balance of offense and just bludgeoning people on defense and on the glass, but it requires a lot to click, and I think it requires AD to just play a little bit of a different, not play a different style, because he can play a lot of different styles, but he can't default to floating around the elbow. I just don't think that's good enough.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of horns, a lot of DHOs. Like, this is going to be a very handoff driven offense in a lot of ways. Just a couple of years after they were like the league's preeminent pick and roll team, I think that they're obviously transitioning with a very different set of personnel. Can they run? Are they going to get out and run? Like, are they going to do that consistently? With
Cooper and the centers are tailor made
Yes.
for that kind of play.
Yes, and certainly Klay Thompson as a trailer, that's a sweet spot for him. I think that's going to be a necessary part, like getting the tempo up, making making up for some of what they lack in spacing, and because they do lack spacing. And it's not just the spacing, but spacing pulls and stretches the defense out. Driving is obviously what collapses it. They don't have a lot of driving, certainly not from those two centers. AD is somebody who just does not. He does not consistently go from 20 feet out to 10 feet in. He's more of somebody who, and when he does that, he drives for a floater. He drives for a jumper. Najee, is somebody who drives for his own shot. He's not really beating his defender. He's just bodying and bumping the guy all the way to get to a spot, but he's not really getting two people on him. Cooper, even at his best, I think he's going to be someone who more powers through. And so that's why I look up and down the roster and I think about, when are you going to get double teams? When are you just going to eliminate somebody on the perimeter and force the defense to rotate to you? Like D'Lo every once in a while, Brandon Williams off the bench, Dante Exum is still kicking around. I don't really think that's Cooper's game. And so, they're going to have to create a lot of offense through sets and through motion and kind of make up for it with the fact that this defense needs to be top 10, maybe top 5 to kind of make up for the fact of everything else. And obviously when Kyrie gets back, that changes everything. That's why he's the most important player, for this roster to work. He's the person most important player to this vision. But it's going to be, as we know, at least half the season. And historically, you can talk to anyone in the Mavericks franchise, and they will obviously just rave about Kyrie on the court, off the court. They'll rave about him in the locker room. Yeah, he's incredible. But even in Dallas, historically and also in Dallas, he doesn't come back quick from injuries. That is one truism of his time, both in Dallas and before, is that these things can linger on for a little bit. So as much as like he is pushed back, and the Mavericks are not like pushing a quicker timeline onto him, or certainly aren't at this point, but. You can hope it's January. I just think that, and maybe it is. Who knows? You never know with this stuff, but it's not something you can expect or bank on going into next season. And I just worry. I still worry just a little bit about everything else around them.
That 2-man game between Kyrie and Flag is going to be amazing to watch when it's in full flight.
It's going to feed families.
Either way, running any who screens for who, I don't care. It's going to be awesome. And I think if you give Cooper just a little bit of a co-star on the creator, another guy who can really draw attention, I think his game is going to pop so fast. And I think he will, more quickly than maybe others think, become a guy who can draw to the ball himself, or with a little bit of a head start. And I'm not going to put a ceiling on him yet. I guess here's where I net out bottom line. Even if Kyrie were healthy coming into this season, I don't think they're as good as Oklahoma City. Duh. I don't think they're as good as Denver. I don't think they're as good as the Rockets. I don't think I could put them ahead of the Wolves or the Clippers, despite the Clippers being an old folks home and having major injury risks across the roster, a couple of major injury risks anyway. And that's okay. That's not necessarily a bad thing. You're counting on a rookie to do a lot. The question is next season and the season after that, can they crack that kind of elite inner circle in time? And I think you're counting on, Denver has a couple of guys leave due to finances. Durant declines or leaves the Rockets or whatever. Like, some of these teams will not look like they do now in 3 years. And Dallas ascends, but also San Antonio will ascend. Another team will ascend, whoever it is. I think the odds are against them morphing into a contender in the next, not a contender, like a true inner circle contender in the next 3 seasons. I think it's possible, but it seems to be too much too soon, but maybe that Kyrie, Cooper, AD nucleus is that good. I would bet slightly against it.
Yeah, the Mavericks love to cite the evidence of that Rockets game. It was Anthony Davis's Mavericks debut. He got hurt at right at the end of the third quarter, but it was a smashing of the Houston Rockets. Like they, I think through three quarters they were up by like 20. Kind of gave up some points, and the fourth struggled a little bit once AD was out there. You go look at the stats, and that was the worst shot quality they generated all season, and the second best 3-point percentage they shot all season, all regular season, was that game. That game they cite as evidence that this team was going to work, that the experiment, was sound and solid. It's one game, obviously. Like I'm not taking definitive judgments away and saying, I look at the team overall and I certainly have some hesitations and questions, but the same way that I don't look at that Houston game and think that the stats mean something or the result means something. I just think that, the fact that the offense overperformed in that game does point at some of the struggles that we're pointing out. And it's just a matter like now Cooper's on the team, and that certainly helps. And as you pointed out, that his timeline, is he going to get to where they need him to be to add the juice that I think this team was going to be missing? Now it's just kind of a race to see, whether these old 30-year-olds, whether they age out and whether you want to keep them around on, big money contracts, big money extensions, while also building with Cooper, or is it a situation where at some point there is a reckoning coming for this team and they do decide from an ownership level down that they need to reset and they need to just go for more of a traditional prop or, no two timeline situation. It's just Cooper's team and fully build around him. And as long as you keep everybody here, I don't mind that necessarily. If you just go into next year and see how everything looks and you still got all the guys on the books and you can still trade them all, they all still have value. Everybody in the league likes PJ Washington, likes Daniel Gafford. Guys would, teams would give up something to go get those guys. So as long as you just kind of kick the can down the road a little bit, I think there's some merit to that. It's just a matter of like if this doesn't work, are you going to sell out even more into the older timeline, into the win now timeline? Because Nico and so much of his reputation has been, put, he's put up his mortgage, his professional mortgage into this trade and into this vision. So are you just going to keep doubling down on that? Or is there a way to reset? And again, I think that would have to come from the ownership level. So we'll see.
That downside scenario you just outlined is on one level not bad at all, because if you have to trade Kyrie, you'll get something for him. If you have to trade AD, we'll see what his extension, if he gets one, looks like. You get something for him. The other guys, you'd get something for those guys. And you already have the most important thing in a reset. You're resetting from you're a lap ahead of everybody else. However, you do not control your draft pick in 2027, 2028, 2029, or 2030. And so there's an increased risk of you're just one bad break away from a disaster coughing up a bad pick. You do have the Lakers pick in 2029. I guess let me just be simple about it. In the next three, let's chalk this up as a gap year. Maybe we'll be happily surprised. And by gap year, I don't mean they're going to be bad. They go 44 and 38, 42 and 40, whatever it is. They're just a good, solid team in the West. Honor in that. Nothing wrong with that. Agreed. I think the 26-27 Mavericks and 27-28 Mavericks, I have to predict right now what they're going to be. I think they're going to be good to very good basketball teams that don't quite win enough to justify all the rigmarole that ended up building them and all that was out the door. And that's fine, but that can be okay. And by that, I mean, is there a conference finals appearance coming? I don't know. I would bet against a finals appearance for sure at this point, but that's not a horrible place to be considering you just traded Luka Doncic, which is, I still can't believe happened. Tim Cato.
Yeah.
You cover this team as well as anybody. DLLS Sports. You got a podcast. You write. Subscribe to the newsletter. What else can we say?
Yeah, all of that. I think you nailed most of it. Going into a bit more of a nationally focused thing. It's going to be more, more of all around the league, trying to find trends. Or
are you going to be like Dirk? Are you going to be like Dirk, showing up at Lakers games randomly, sitting in the stands?
Maybe I will. You got to keep your eyes. You got to stay on your toes. Keep your eyes open.
Tim Cato, thank you, sir. I'll see you down the line.
Thank you, Zach.
All right, that's it for today's Zach Lowe Show. Thank you to Howard. Thank you to Tim. Thank you to Jesse and Jonathan on production. We'll be back later this week, Wednesday, Thursday, something. We're gonna sort out the timetable before I go on my annual European sojourn. We're going to talk some basketball. We're going to talk about some other stuff that's not basketball later in the week, including the red hot, at least as I tape this, New York Metropolitan baseball team. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching the Zach Lowe Show. Must be 21 and over and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 and over and present in D.C. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPENY or text HOPE-NY in New York.